Module on finances and fundraising. This is the final module. After this, you will see a module open up for the acknowledgement. Like I said in the beginning, all you have to do is select true once you've read through and affirm that you have done the entire training, and that will give me a good way to be able to count you guys and provide a list to accounting so that she can open up your accounts. So let's get started. For finances, really a lot of this is in the video that Rhonda has on the supplemental section. On the student org page, in the student leader section, there's a supplemental bit, and Rhonda has a video that she's made that she'd like you guys to watch. In this video, don't pay attention to the list of orgs that still need to submit their authorized officer forms. That will be updated later on the page once you guys start to submit them, but this video is a couple years old, and instead of remaking an entire video, just ignore that section where she talks about the orgs that still need to send her a form. Really, most of what she would like you all to do is covered in the video and also in the student org handbook. There is a complete section on finances, and so really the best idea is to read through that and know inside and out how deposits work, how reimbursements work, timelines, required documents, things like that. I'll just give you kind of the overarching things that I see a lot that gets missed oftentimes. Deposits in particular, deposits or funds in general, I guess I should back up. Funds in general, orgs cannot deposit or withdraw funds from external bank accounts. And so all of your deposits and withdrawals need to go through your account with accounting at this point. So if you're selling items, for example, in the section we'll go over next, which is fundraisers, if you're selling t-shirts or something like that, and you have a table down on the first floor, what you're required to do is to get a box from accounting, and all the cash goes into the box, and then you bring the box back up to accounting at the end of the day. You do need to make those deposits at the end of each day. Don't put cash boxes back in your locker, take them home, etc. That really leads to the possibility of having commingling of funds, and that's really the point of this particular requirement, is that we don't want any commingling of funds at all. And so the safest thing to do, and actually the required thing to do, is to make your daily deposits. The other thing that gets missed a lot is the way that reimbursements work. Again, between Rhonda's video and the text within the student org handbook, all of it is laid out in fair detail. I suppose what I'd point out is the importance of itemized receipts and keeping those receipts. Rhonda does need those detailed receipts in order to process reimbursements. The other thing I would point out is that there is no provision for, I guess, subsidizing shortfalls in your budgets. As an example, if you were to have an event and you spent $200 on food, but your student org account only has $100, you can only be reimbursed for that $100. And so it's important to keep close tabs on your current budget and make sure that when you're budgeting for an event, you've raised the money for it, or sometimes some orgs will charge an entry fee if it's a big enough event, or you have the money already in your account. A good way to know this is, one, to keep your own books, but also if you're one of the people on the authorized officer form, you do need two people to sign that form. Typically, the treasurer would be one person, and maybe the VP or the president. If you were to go to Rhonda as a person who is on that form and ask her to see the ledger for your student org, she's more than happy to print a ledger for you and show you how much you have remaining in your bank account. And speaking about how much remaining in the bank account, at the start of the year, all student orgs that have a zero balance do get $75 from the university or from the college via SBA's bank account. And so if you're at zero currently, once you turn in your authorized officer's officer forms and you've done the training, there will be $75 in each student org account. Other than that, if you are running a current balance, if you're a part of a student org that does have a balance currently in their account from fundraising or something like that, it's a good idea to, right at the start, get a ledger from Rhonda so you know where you are at this point in the semester, and you can compare that to whatever notes were left for you by the previous e-board. Other than that, I'd say a detailed conversation with Rhonda is probably best. One or both of the people on the authorized officer form, just so you understand exactly how she would like things done. The next topic is fundraisers. And so really, this is the way that you all are able to make a little bit of money for your orgs, whether it is to put on bigger events, invite speakers, go to conferences, things like that. You do need a way to generate some funds. And so this is really just kind of suggestions that I have for the way fundraising can work. I suppose my main bit of advice is to be creative. Primarily in the types of things or the types of ways that you'd like to fundraise. A lot of student orgs will sell t-shirts or sweatshirts or something like that. And so it might be a good idea to think outside the box and see what other types of things would be useful to your fellow students and the types of things that they'd like to purchase. There are a couple things to be aware of, particularly with merchandise. If you plan to use the MSU logo in any way, shape, or form, you need to go through MSU licensing. And so it's licensing.msu.edu. And there's also a section about this on the student org website. You'll submit the graphics or the lettering that you'd like to use, and they will approve it. Further than that, whatever the merchandise happens to be, it's always a good idea to get proofs. Because of the way that the finances work that we just spoke about in the previous slide, it is not exactly an easy thing to prepay for items. And so the best idea is to get a proof from the printer or the vendor that is going to be making whatever widget it is that you feel as though you would like to sell. A digital representation or a sample copy or something like that, so that you can display those and sell based on that display. And so really, the best course of action is a couple positions down here, which is pre-sale. And so once you know what your proof is, and then you know what the unit cost is going to be, and sometimes that may vary depending on how many you ultimately order. You'll want to publicize that you're having a table downstairs, or at your next event you'll be having samples of this merchandise, and really gauge people's interest. And then at that point you can get to pre-sale. And this is really how you end up paying for these items, is that you take payments up front, and then you use those payments in order to place your order later on. And this way there isn't a chance of shortfall. You really do keep yourself out of having to pay for stuff that people aren't going to buy. And so really the short version is, don't pre-order things assuming that you're going to sell 200 versions of whatever it is, and then you only sell 70, and then someone has to go into their personal pocket to try to pay for the extra. It works quite nicely. People usually don't think twice about ordering something and then getting it at a later date, so long as you keep yourself on task and deliver when you say you're going to deliver. So after you've placed your order, like I say, make sure that during the pre-sale you map out how long this is going to take, your distribution date, those kinds of things, and then just be there to distribute, and everything should work out quite fine. Other than that, you can be creative as far as your fundraisers go. Two big things that I want to make you all aware of are bake sales and raffles. So food and bake sales are an issue because there is an ordinance about such things at Big MSU, and the details are in the student org handbook. But due to the building that we exist in, even if you were to try to sell prepackaged food, because the overarching rule is that you cannot sell food that is not prepackaged. The secondary rule is that you cannot sell food in a building that has a culinary services outlet or department or some service from culinary services. And as it happens, Sparties counts as a service via culinary services. And so the easiest version, unfortunately, is that my position is no food or bake sales. I have a similar position when it comes to raffles and gaming. The situation with raffles and gaming is that, in a technical way, it is possible to hold a raffle or some kind of game of chance at the state level. There is a form and these kinds of things, but the combination of us being a nonprofit, there's a special form and it gets the administration involved, and then also the time and expense it takes to actually get these forms through. It doesn't really make it ends up being a losing proposition for the types of things that would generally be raffled and the types of profit that you would see from a raffle. You're much better off having an event, selling tickets to the event, and then when people are at the event, you could have a door prize. Since that's not really selling tickets as a game of chance to win a specific thing, really people are coming to the event, and there so happens to be a door prize. That ends up being a simpler solution if you'd like to entice people by having some kind of prize or something, instead of making the whole point of selling the tickets giving a prize. And so essentially it became quite arduous to try to go through the raffle and gambling system, and so for that reason I've decided that there won't be any raffles or gambling. And like I say, there are creative ways to entice people to events without having games of chance. Other than that, that is really the end of the training. I tried to keep it as painless as possible and short. Do familiarize yourselves with the details in the Student Org handbook. I didn't want to just have this be 2 hours of me walking through each step of the handbook. It's really up to you guys to go through the handbook and make sure you understand what's going on. And if you don't understand something, feel free to come in and ask. Go to your faculty advisors, things like that. But otherwise, I'll be sending out an email in the next week or two with the diagrams for the Student Org fair. And other than that, have a great day.